Hello, welcome to Chapter 8 for Business Math. It's called Loans. This is Lesson 8.3 called Installment Loans, Monthly Payment, and Finance Charge. All right, as always, make sure you're reading through the textbook. Look through the lesson, what vocabulary and concepts are coming up, how are we going through the examples, not just how to calculate, but why. Why are we multiplying this number and this number, adding these numbers, or subtracting these numbers? Pay attention to the why. It's important for understanding what we're doing in these smaller pieces so that we can start to use them all together. Because as we move through the chapter, that tends to happen. We get toward the end of the chapter here and they're asking us to do multiple things that we've learned at the beginning of the chapter. So just be, aware. We should be paying attention to the why, not just the how. All right. So let's go ahead and read the little summary they give us here. When you obtain an installment loan, you must pay finance charges for the use of the money. You repay the loan with an equal monthly payments. The amount of equal monthly payments depends on the amount financed, the number of payments, and the annual percentage rate. So then they give us these equations here. Monthly payment equals the amount of the loan divided by 100 times the monthly payment for a $100 loan. So and the reason they're doing it this way, they say it kind of funny because there's actually this table here that will help us. So if it's a $100 loan at this percentage and there's 6 months in the term, then it's $17.60 that you're going to be paying for that $100 loan for each month. And so that's why we're dividing by $100. We're figuring out the loan that we take out, how many $100 are there in there, so that we can just multiply by this number. It's a kind of a quick way to convert it. And then we have the total amount repaid equals the number of payments times the monthly payment. The finance charge is the total amount repaid minus the amount financed. So there's going to be a difference there. The loan that you take out is not the total that you pay at the end. You're going to pay more because you're paying interest to use that money. It's not yours. You're paying to use the money. So in order to know how much extra you paid, we subtract the repayment amount from the amount originally financed. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 1 here. So Lloyd and Linda Pearl want to remodel the dining room in their home. The estimated cost for the job is $6,890. They pay 30% of the cost up front and finance the rest at 12% APR for 48 months. So we know this is the cost of the job. They are making a down payment because cost up front. They're paying 30% of the cost up front. That's a down payment. And then they're going to finance the rest of it at 12% for 48 months. So the first thing they ask us to do is, what is the down payment? So we're going to take the amount of the total job. We're going to multiply that by 30%. And that'll tell us what our down payment is here. The amount financed is the total amount here minus the down payment. And these are actually coming from section 2. We learned how to calculate down payment and the amount financed. So these two calculations came from section 2. So what is the monthly payment? So now that we know how much is being financed, that's the amount of the loan. We're going to plug it in here. So the amount that you have in this box, and again, I'm not doing all these calculations for you. These ones are pretty darn simple. I'm just kind of setting them up to show you what to do. So once you have the amount here, you're going to divide by 100, and you're going to multiply by the monthly payment for $1 loan, for a $100 loan, sorry. So we need, let me see, can I just scroll down a little? I didn't want it to zoom out. All right. So it's 12%. So we know we're going to be in this column here. This is the 12% column. And then it says 48 months. So we're going to go down here to the 48 months like this. And we just see, where do they crisscross? So here's my amount. This is where they crisscross. Is at 2.63. I'm going to get rid of these circles so you can actually see it. 2.63. So it's 48 and 12. So that's where they crossed in those kind of silly bubble circle things I was doing there. So we're going to multiply the total. I'll just write the total divided by 100 times 2.63 because I got that from my table here. It's going to cost me $2.63 per month for every $100 I'm borrowing. That's why we have to divide by 100. We need to know how many hundreds I'm borrowing, or they're borrowing in this case. And that'll give you your monthly payment amount. What is the amount being financed? So now we need to know, we need to do two calculations in this one. So we need to know the total amount repaid. So we're going to take this monthly payment and we're going to multiply by 48. So here, I'm going to put this up here. So monthly payment, which that's what the box here, the kind of ugly box, times 48. And that'll tell you your amount repaid. So we're just doing this equation here. We have to do this one to do the answer for part D because we want to know what's the finance charge. Well, the finance charge is the total amount repaid, which is this calculation here, or whatever our monthly payment is, times 48, minus the amount financed. So once we have this amount here, and I'll put a box here, you're looking for this amount, we're going to subtract the amount they originally financed, which is, let's see, this box here. I'm just going to put another box instead of writing out the equation because it'll take me a minute here to write out the pieces. I think it'll look a little more confusing. So you have all of the pieces you need here once you go through and calculate. So it's having you do it a little slowly. First you do your down payment, then you know, what is the amount financed, the monthly payment. Remember to multiply that by 48 to get your total repayment amount. And then you're going to subtract that from your amount financed, which is what we found in part B. So I can even write part B in here. Yeah, to finish that little calculation there to get that amount. So then this is partially from part C, but it's part C times 48. Okay. So I know I didn't really do a lot of calculations there. I was just trying to set you up so you kind of knew what to do for each one. Okay. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So, Anne, I think the N is silent. Guyan, I'm going to go with Guyan, would like an installment loan for $5,000. Her bank will loan her the money at 12% for 18 months. So she wants this much. Here's her principal. And we have our rate and we have our time. Her insurance company will loan her the money at 12% for 24 months. Which loan would cost her less? So now you're going to have to go through and calculate both. And you're going to have to go through all of these same calculations that you did for number 1. You're going to have to, doesn't look like they're asking for any down payment, so you don't have to do part A. But we do have to look at what is the monthly payment and then the repayment amount, and we need to subtract that from 5,000 for each one. So it doesn't look like there's any down payment. So the amount financed is immediately going to be $5,000 because it doesn't look like she's doing anything for a down payment. So we're just going to have our 5,000 amount financed times, we need to go in our table to find our amounts here. So for her bank, it's 12% and 18 months. So here's where they crisscross, 6.10. So that'll tell you how much her monthly payment is for her, oh, sorry, we need to divide by 100. I forgot to write that in there. So that's how much her bank is going to charge her per month. We're not quite done with that. We need to multiply that number by 18, so how many total payments she's making, and then subtract from the 5,000. That'll tell us how much was financed. Okay, because no matter what, she's borrowing the 5,000, but we want to know how much more interest this is going to cost her. So for her insurance, so we still have our 5,000. We're still dividing by 100, but this time it's 12%, and they have 24 months. That. So here's where they crisscross. So we have 4. Oops. Too many undos. There we go. 4.71. And that'll tell us the monthly payment from her insurance company. Again, we need to multiply not by 18 this time, 24. We need to pay attention to which loan, how long each loan is. So she's going to be making this payment for 24 months. And then again, we want to subtract from 5,000. Once we have those two numbers, we just need to determine which one's bigger, which one's smaller. We want the smaller amount. We want to know which one's a better loan for her to pay less, which one's going to cost her less. So we're looking for the lesser of the financed amounts. All right, so let's look at the algebra piece here real quick. We have Marcy Wolf needs an installment loan of $18,500 to purchase a new automobile. The annual percentage rate is 9%. She has to repay the loan in 48 months. And then they go through and they kind of break it down here. Find the monthly payment using the formula. All right, so monthly payment would be the amount of the loan, and it's not mentioning anything about a down payment. So we're going to go with her total amount being $18,500, and we divide by 100. Remember, we need to know how many hundreds are in there. Times, now we need to use this piece here. So let's see. And they want you to use the formula. I didn't notice this was 9% when I had looked at it earlier. And there is no 9% up here in the table, which is interesting. So 9%, and I'm going to play with it for a minute and see, can I do, if I go to 18% and then 48 months, I wonder if I can just divide by 2. I don't know if that'll work. Because instead of 18%, I want 9%. But I truly don't think that'll work. Let me see. Times. No, so it doesn't look like it's giving me the correct amount. So I'm going to try one more time. Divided by 2 times 18. No, that gives me a much too small amount here. So what I do believe we need to do is, and it says using the formula, and instead of using the formula up above, I believe what it wants you to do is use the formula for calculating interest. It's interesting that that's the way they threw it on there. Okay, so we needed to figure out if they want us to use, I believe it's going to be exact interest based on months is what they're going to have us do. And that's going back for section 1. It's just kind of an interesting way to throw it up here. So to calculate interest, we have principal times time times rate, or PRT, so principal times rate times time. That's usually how we do it when we see it. So when we have this up here, I'm going to get rid of this because we're not going to use that formula. We have interest equals principal times rate times time. Time can be a little weird because we need to know how many out of, it's either days or out of months. I believe since they're giving us 48 months here, what they're going to have us do is 48 divided by 12. We want the monthly payment based on the formula, but we can't quite use the formula, can we? What they might want us to do is if we look in the back of the book, it actually will have a table here. So throwing the book here on accident. Oops. Let's see, let me look. I'm going to check to see in the back of my book if this table is here. Monthly payment on simple interest installment loans of $100. Ooh, they do. They have it back here in the book. So I know this is a little bit blurry, but it's not this top one. It's actually the bottom portion of this page here. So they do actually have an extended table in the back of the book on page A13. So I think this is going to be a little bit simpler than trying to go through and do it this way. So I'm going to again undo, sorry, stumbling through this one a little bit here. But we have 18,500 divided by 100 times, and using this chart on page A13, I can go to the 9% column that actually has one on here, and I can go down to the 48 mark. So that's 2.49. So it is not half of this one like I was originally trying to do for a second there. So we can go ahead and calculate this out. And I haven't shown you this yet on here, but if you're dividing by 100 and you have zeros up here, you can just cross the zeros off. It's kind of one of those tricky things, 10, 0, 1,000. So you can cross zeros off to make the division a little faster there. So you end up with 185 times 2.49. And that will tell you what your monthly payment is. So that'll give you your amount here. And then from that piece, we can start calculating the rest. So find the total amount repaid. So if we know her monthly payments, and we know she's going to be paying that for 48 months, we're going to multiply by 48, and that'll tell us the amount repaid in the second column here for part B. And then for the finance charge, we're going to take this total repayment amount. Ooh, that's a very ugly rectangle there. But we're going to subtract how much she originally put in here, which was originally took, which was 18,500. That'll tell us how much her finance charge was. All right, so that one was a little different, only because had to kind of play with it, and it occurred to me that there probably was a table in the back of the book there. So they did, in fact, mean the formula from up above here when they said use the formula. They just forgot to mention also use the table in the textbook. So if this comes across, sometimes this happens where they only give you a tiny piece of the table that's actually in the back of the book. In the appendix, which those pages start with an A, and there's quite a few pages there, they give you a whole lot of extended tables in the back of the book. So I know that was a little confusing there at the end, but hopefully it inevitably helped, getting to the answer there. And I will see you in section 4.